So we're here for session 5 out of this little 5-part back to basics practice, and we've looked at all of the practical kind of elements of a meditation practice, and I'll go over those again in a minute. But the elements we're looking at today is what I consider common obstacles to meditation, those things that get in the way of our practice or make the practice more difficult or unpleasant than it needs to be. And these are usually to do with some sort of loaded expectations or maybe misapprehension about what mindfulness is or meditation is, or just simply, not knowing. Um, and it's one of those things that, well, meditation is one of those things we're always discovering new things. So this is by no means an exhaustive list, but it will hopefully help us to recognize we're in the right place in terms of the meditation. Um, and I would be interested to hear what obstacles and insights you guys have, because we'll be talking about some insights as well. Insights being, where insight is where in mindfulness is where we see something a bit more clearly or more deeply, or we see things in a new way. It can be a little aha moment or a revelation, a shift in how we speak, think, act. So these are some of the benefits of mindfulness. But I will go over, just to recap, because it is the last session, everything we've done so far. Briefly, we looked at the posture. Now, just to reiterate, we can meditate in any position, and that's what a posture is. It's a position. We can meditate on our backs, walking, standing up, jumping in circles if we wish to. But for the purposes of mindfulness practice, a sitting practice, we discussed feeling stable and solid. So we're connected to the ground, either through a stable seat or a cushion or a kneeling stool or something like that. You can, of course, lay down on a bed. And that's having that sort of stability and groundedness in the body, and then having a sense of alertness with the body as well. So we're able to maintain sort of diligence and awareness throughout the practice. So we want the body to be relaxed but alert, stable but free. So there are a couple of instructions there that might contradict each other, but it's about finding that balance between those. We looked at posture, we looked at intention and motivation, and our intention is where we declare to ourselves that this is what we're doing. I'm going to do a 20-minute mindfulness meditation. And one of the elements of this has just really hit home for me just this week is the power of making what we're doing the most important thing that we're doing. So it's my intention now to practice mindfulness for 20 minutes. And this is the most important thing to me right now. Because with a half-hearted intention, then the mind is much more susceptible to wandering off into plans or solving problems that might be lurking in the background or focusing on whatever is going on around us. But if we really sink into that, if we acknowledge that this is the most important thing that I'm doing, this is the most important thing to me right now, then it gives us a sense of connection with the practice, and it helps to filter out some of the unnecessary interruptions. And then motivation is really our personal why. What are we doing here? This is what brought me to the mat or the seat today. And that might change every session. There might be multiple whys, there might be none. So we're just really dropping the question in, why am I here? We're not searching for an answer, we're just waiting to see if there is one. Sometimes in the recognition of the why, there can be some insight. Maybe we're striving or running away from something. And so that's posture, intention, motivation. Then we moved into settling. So settling is done with the breath usually. So this is where we modulate the breath slightly. We focus on the breath and we start building a nice, even, balanced rhythm of breath. And we're aiming to keep the inhale and exhales of a similar length. And this helps the nervous system just to settle down a little bit and helps the mind to clear from the mass distraction that's going on in it. Of course, we'll still have thoughts, but this is a way of settling those down a little bit. So we've done posture, intention, motivation, settling. Then it's grounding. Actually, going back to settling, one of the tools I've had a lot of positive feedback on is a visualization. This is where I usually use the waves of the beach, coming up the beach and falling away again. So if that helps your mind to settle, some people don't like to use the breath, some people like to use a visualization. It can be the waves coming up the beach on the inhale and then dropping back into the sea on the exhale. Or we can simply visualize a candle or something like that. Whatever works for us, and it might take some experimenting. And then from settling, we move into grounding. And grounding is where we become more aware of the sensations of the body. And in doing so, we bringing our attention out of thinking mode more into feeling and being mode. We're getting what's called a felt sense of being here. And sometimes it's easier than others. Sometimes we've got discomforts in the body. Sometimes we've got a really busy mind and it's hard to be in the body. Sometimes there's parts of the body that cause us discomfort or emotional discomfort, in which case we navigate that our own way. But generally speaking, the body is a really good way of feeling connected with ourselves. So we always pass through that phase. So it's posture, intention, motivation, settling, grounding, and then finally resting. And this is what we did, where we open and just start to receive what's happening. We're not searching for anything. We're resting, and we usually use the breath at the center of our experience, but not hard focus on the breath. It's a much lighter, more open focus. So we are aware or mindful of other things that are going on. It might be a busy mind, or some emotional sort of dysregulation, or something in the body that doesn't feel quite right. So we want to be mindful of all of that stuff, of what's going on. So we can then start to practice acceptance and non-judgment as well. So the important part of the resting, or the whole meditation, is part of the attitude that we bring towards it, and that's encompassed in acceptance, non-judgment, patience, trust, which we can identify by asking ourselves if we're struggling in any moment. And we will go through difficulties in a meditation. It's not all about feeling and being relaxed. We will negotiate difficult moments. And our job in that moment is to say, how am I treating this moment? What attitude am I bringing to this experience? And we might find we're resisting it. We might find we're striving for something else. We might find we're beating ourselves up for something. Again, this can branch off into many different directions. So this is just a real snapshot of some of the tools. Then we close the practice. So once we've done the resting phase and we return to the breath, and we tried not to be judgmental about ourselves and our experience, we try to be accepting and allowing of what's happening, then we close the practice with a dedication. And this dedication can be expressed in a couple of ways, and it's about sending out well-being or well wishes to the community, whether that be your local sort of family or friends, or ever growing or ever widening rings, like the community that you live with, maybe the country, maybe spreading out to the world. So it's about sending out those messages of kindness or peace, but it's also acknowledging that what we're doing here is cultivating peace. We're cultivating awareness, we're cultivating non-judgment. And by doing that within ourselves, we are naturally affecting others. We're positively affecting the world because we become less reactive beings. We can really make a difference by not contributing to somebody else's suffering. And we do that when we're suffering less ourselves. So the dedication, and then there is the reflection, and that is the last bit, which is what I talked about in the intro, is the opportunity to share. We will talk about our experience, what came up, and that in doing so, we get then a different perspective on it. We hear ourselves talk about what's happened. We might then have a different insight about what's happened. So that's the reflection, and that's pretty much the whole sort of sequence that we will go through during a mindfulness practice. And they kind of usher through the first few quite quickly, and then we're in the resting phase for the longest period of time, really. So then this is what today is about. It's reflecting on some of the obstacles that we find in our practice. One of the most difficult things I found initiating my consistent practice was getting a time of day and a consistent practice. It was kind of, a little bit here and there, finding it when I can, often prioritizing other things instead of my meditation practice for a number of years before I actually really did sink into a daily practice, a regular daily practice. And my regular one is before bed. I'll do that, either sitting up in bed or down here on the stool. And I find that is a really helpful time for me to practice. It helps me to relax before the end of the day. And if I can, I'll do another one during the day if I can, but I know I'm going to do my one at night, and that's really my regular one. So finding your own time to do a practice is really helpful. If you want to build it up as a daily practice, being consistent is really helpful. Having a set time that works for you and your routine, and not going crazy if you can't make it and beating yourself up, but generally speaking, if we're doing it each day or most days, then we're going to get the most benefits out of it. And I've touched on this already, but the excuses will come up as well during our practice or before we do it. Is always something more important to do just beforehand. Oh, I'll get that bit done, I'll get this bit done. But this swings back to that intention I was talking about earlier, where no, this is the most important thing. And to emphasize that, it's just helpful to understand every part, everything that we'll ever experience in the world comes through our mind and senses. Yet we spend very little time addressing that. This is the source of our experience, effectively. The one common thing that every experience that we've ever had has in common is us. And mindfulness is a way of attending to that, starting to learn how to manage our experience in a more helpful way. So it's like I see it as an investment, a real investment in life. So a few attitudes that jump up in our practice as well, I've touched on these a little bit already, is judgment, striving, and impatience. These three, there are more, but these are the three ones I want to talk about today. So judgment will take the form of, I'm not very good at this. This is a bad meditation. Labeling and judging our external environment, if there's noise, or internally maybe there's pains and discomforts, or we're not in the mood. And we can really start to make ourselves feel quite miserable by saying or judging our experience as bad. So it's something to be aware of, and remembering mindfulness is simply about observing. So we may observe ourselves judging, and that's okay. We just remind ourselves, okay, that's me judging, and I don't have to do that right now. I can come back to the breath. Can I practice letting go a little bit? Can I practice non-judgment? What does it feel like not to judge this moment as good or bad? Because a judgment really, we take the thinnest slither of time, we take this moment and we say, oh, this is bad. But we never know how that moment's going to turn out. We never know what good can come from a difficult experience. So to say it's bad, simply we don't have enough information to do that. Certainly, my most profound learning experiences in life have been through suffering. That's undoubtedly. So striving is another one. Striving is, it's quite admired in our culture, but striving in meditation is we're sitting there and we're like going to achieve something. We're gonna relax, or we're gonna clear our minds, or we're gonna do something, and we're really moving away from the present moment when we do that. We're kind of fixing our mind on a future um, situation, which is a concept. So we're playing the mind game again. So non-striving is that the antidote to that is where we stop looking at the world through time. We look at what's happening now. Because that is what mindfulness is about. It's about observing what's happening now. And there's nothing else about it, observing with non-judgment what's happening now. We don't have to get anything else out of it. We don't have to get relaxation. We don't have to get joy, peace, or anything like that. We just notice what's happening now. The thing is, when we notice what's happening now, we're naturally cultivating a peaceful relationship with it. It's the first part. We are less drawn in to the problems. But if we strive for any of those, then we'll experience the mental version of stuff, the concepts, which we're all familiar with, I'm sure. And the last one, impatience. This kind of ties the other two together, really. It's this almost feeling like we're not there yet, we're not good enough at it. Um, it's, the changes we're making in meditation are so small over time. This is why we practice regularly. These are tiny little changes that build up over time. And the analogy I use is walking through grass. If we want to create a new pathway, we have to sort of tread through the longer grass, and we tread through it. At first, it's difficult. The grass is long. We might not know exactly where we're going. We might need someone to guide the way. And but even once we've done that first, we can see a little shimmer of a path, and then once we keep going down that path, we're gradually creating a new way of thinking and being. And gradually, the older automatic conditioned paths are starting to grow over. But it takes patience, and this is why thinking that we need to have it sorted, that's the impatience, is thinking we need to be really good at this straight away, is going to cause us suffering. It's almost good to not even think of the end goal, and just really enjoy the process of the meditation, enjoy the process of the individual meditation, and enjoy the process of deepening our mindfulness as we go along, rather than really sort of expecting stuff to happen. Lastly, I do want to just talk about a couple of the insights that we can gain from meditation, and perhaps the most profound one. I think this is, not qualified to say this at all, but it seems to be the most important first step to make during our journey, is to start to recognize thoughts. And in doing so, we become less attached or less clung to them. The thoughts are the strangest kind of phenomenon because if they're unobserved, they can rule our lives. They dominate our experience, they dominate our choices, our motivation, our, yeah, every step we take. Yet, if we shine a light on a thought and see what it's actually made of, it's very insubstantial. So it's quite a strong contrast between being dominated by thoughts which are conditioned from the past and actually stopping and observing a thought and seeing that it's not really made of much. And once we start to see that they're very automatic, they pop up and down all by themselves, we become less attached to them and we take them less seriously. And that really helps. It certainly helped my journey of, I thought I was a really bad person because of some of the thoughts I was thinking. And then I realized they were happening all by themselves. Sitting there, even in the meditation yesterday, I was guiding at Men's Craft. There was a lot of background noise, and my mind was really digging into the people making the noise, coming up with all sorts of insults. But part of my practice was not necessarily trying to change that in that moment, but just being aware of how my mind was responding to that noise. And that's mindfulness as well. Not beating myself up for it. Just like, oh, that's what the mind does when it gets annoyed. So really, yeah, the detachment or disidentification of thoughts is one of the most powerful things. It's certainly on my meditation journey. The freedom from that, and it's not 100% through the day at all. I'm still running on that conditioning for quite a large part of the day, but there's more light, there's more awareness there now. The other one is, or the other insight is, a certain amount of acceptance that there will be pain in our lives. We all know that. None of us are exempt from it. We will all go through periods of difficulty. It's when we fuel that difficulty with either, we make it more exaggerated, or we resist it, or we deny it, or we judge ourselves for it, that we make the pain into suffering. We take the raw experience of pain, whether it be physical, a neck pain, a shoulder pain. It's made of sensations, whether it's an emotion, kind of made of sensations and some mental images and labels, or whether it's purely thoughts, which can be really chaotic and disruptive. I've already explained they're also not really made of much, but they can all bring sort of some element of pain into our lives. And if we try and change that, then we're feeding into it. We're going to prolong it or make it worse. So the invitation or the insight for me is really allowing pain to be pain without adding anything to it. Now, we've all got a threshold for that. We've all got a threshold for any form of, difficulty, that we're able to stay in a reasonable place while we negotiate with. It might be an itchy nose. It might be a little, I feel like moving my shoulder. They're the kind of levels out of, a 2 or 3 out of 10 that we're experimenting with. But as we get better at non-reactivity to difficulties, then that starts to seep into, it's like treading through the grass. It starts to seep into our subconscious and becomes more of a way of being. We find ourselves not chipping in or not being as reactive to what someone said or done or the weather or whatever it is. So that's all I've got to say about that. I think I did just want to reiterate, I did say it at the start, but a meditation practice, and it kind of goes with this exploration of difficulties. We're not expected to take on too much during a meditation. Excuse me, The practice we're going to do next is called RAIN. It's an acronym for Recognize, Accept, Investigate and Nurture. So it's recognize, accept, investigate and nurture. And when we go through this process, we usually choose a minor difficulty that we're experiencing. Maybe we're upset from something that happened in the day or something that's going on now. Maybe there's a difficulty inside that we can attend to. And we do this in a mindful way where we aim to explore it with curiosity and detachment. We're not getting involved with it. We're looking at it like a curious scientist would. Okay, what is it? What is it? How does it appear in my body? Is there a pain associated with it? What's that made of? And we go into emotions. Is it present in one emotion or many emotions? What do they feel like? Can we accept them? Can we allow that to flow? Then maybe, how's it appearing in thoughts? Am I telling myself off for it? Am I trying to usher it away? And then we always finish that practice with the nurture, and that is about really bringing some form of kindness to our experience. We can sometimes offer a touch, which is only very subtle, but it can actually connect us with warmth and friendliness and a bit of inner peace if we can find a comforting touch to ourselves and just recognize, with some mantras or messages of wellness that it's normal and okay to struggle, and everyone does, and it doesn't make us weak. We're strong, capable people, and we can take an opportunity to bring some more of that into our experience. So I will start getting ready for the meditation. If anyone has any questions, then please, now's the time to ask. I have talked for a long time now. There is a really profound little poem that would usually read before a rain practice. I'm going to see if I can find it on my computer. I've not got it ready. Give me 2 seconds. Okay. So I do have the does nobody have any questions? Is that all good? It might be actually a little moment if you've been sat perfectly still for a little while, just to shuffle around and make yourself a little bit more comfortable again. Because we will be sat here for another 20 minutes at least, so just please remember, you can't do this wrong. We're bringing a lot of compassion into this experience because it often does feel like we're doing it wrong. So just remembering, coming back to, this is my only job is to observe my experience, and that's all rain is really, is a deep observation of what's happening. So this guest house poem is by Rumi, who I think was a Sufi, and he said, this being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honourably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because Each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So we'll allow the sound of the bell to signal the start of the meditation. And we can find a posture that's stable and solid, yet relaxed, alert, free. Shouldn't take too much effort. Sometimes nice just to offer a bit of straightness to the spine, allowing the chin to tuck ever so slightly and allowing the back of the head to float upwards. Hands can be rested on the lap or on the side. And eyes can be open or closed. And it's a moment to connect with our intention. And for the next 20 minutes, we will be practicing mindfulness. We'll be doing the rain practice. And we can make this the most important thing. This is our intention. This is our priority now. This is a rare moment, a rare opportunity to cultivate some mindfulness. And just dropping in the question of our motivation, why am I here today? What brings me to the seat, to this meditation? And just being open to whatever comes up. Why am I here? There may be no clear reason, and that's fine as well. So as always, we let go of our intention, we let go of our motivation. Because as determined as we can be to stay present, we will wander. The meditation will take its very own course. It never goes in a straight line. It's about how we manage the wiggles, the left, right, up, down. And we can help the mind to settle by bringing awareness to the breath. Noticing where it is in our body where we feel breathing the most. How do I know I'm breathing? Might be the air coming in and out of the nose or the mouth. Might be some movement in the throat or the rising and falling of the chest. Might even be down in the belly. We feel the belly softening and expanding. Or maybe just a general sense of breathing. So we're aware of the breath, And whenever we notice we're not aware of the breath, our only job is to return to it. So we're focused on the sensations of breathing. And we're observing. And we might have already noticed that the mind is busy, and that's absolutely fine. You know, we can just say, I've got a busy mind right now. And we return to the breathing. And as we observe the breath, we may notice that it deepens or softens. And we're invited to deepen the breath slightly and begin to balance the inhale and the exhale. So doing our best to make the in and the out breath a similar length. And there's a few ways of doing this. We might count to maybe 3 or 4 on the inhale, breathing in fully and then breathing out fully for the same count. So we're aware of the breath and we're aware of this even counting. So this is the most important thing to us at the moment. And we can visualize the waves of the sea moving up the beach and away again. Breathing the waves in and breathing the waves out. Something just to create a nice, even, balanced flow of breathing. May even be a phrase like, I'm breathing in and I know that this is my in-breath. And I'm breathing out and I know that this is my out-breath. And we can begin to let go of regulating the breath in this way, returning to its natural rhythm. So we're not forcing the breath, not counting or visualizing anymore. Instead, we can focus on how the body feels as we exhale, as we let go of the breath. So we're starting to come into the body, noticing how the body wants to relax as we let go of the breath. It's a natural relaxation response. Noticing how the body softens as we let go of the breath. You may notice ourselves getting a little bit closer to the ground, maybe letting go of any unnecessary tension that's built up in the face, in the neck and the shoulders. Not forcing ourselves to relax, but just letting go of any unnecessary tension. Letting go of what wants to let go. And bringing that awareness all the way through the body. Letting go. Softening. And we might meet our feet on the ground or whatever they're resting on. Whatever feels most solid and connected to the ground right now. Connecting with that stillness, that sense of stability. Becoming aware of the breath, the body as a whole, and the space around us. So with that open, spacious awareness, we rest. We rest with the attitude of allowing, acceptance, patience and non-judgment. And each time the mind wanders into thinking or falls into slumber or some sort of emotional difficulty, I'm just invited to come back, notice, I wandered off, and bringing our attention back to the breath in a nice, gentle, open and receptive way. Start to receive the breath. And here's where we begin the rain practice. So the first part is the R, is to recognize. And we can do this at any time, but today we're just opening up to, a minor difficulty that might be present. And a little niggle. A minor irritation, perhaps. Some kind of small, difficult experience. So we're recognizing it, we give it a name. What is it? Using the guest house analogy, we're opening the door and greeting this difficulty. Rumi said shame and malice. Maybe there's some shame here, maybe there's some anxiety or worry, some frustration. Maybe an incident that we wish we could have handled a bit better. And we're invited now to allow that space. So we're allowing this difficulty some space to be here. We stop resisting it. And we may find there's more difficulties associated with it, and can we allow those to be here as well? Naming those and welcoming those in. Maybe some self-judgment in there. And can we just allow them the space to be here without dominating our experience? And once we've allowed them as best we can, we begin the I of rain, the investigate. So how does this difficulty appear in the body? Is there a physical presence of this difficulty in the body? What sensations are associated with this difficulty? What kinds of sensations are they? Hard or soft, spiky or smooth? Hot or cold? Are they still or moving, thick or thin? And can we allow this physical experience to be here, these sensations? The best we can, just giving these sensations space to move, to change, or to sit still. And you can stay here with the sensations, or the invitation is to look at this difficulty in terms of emotions. And what emotions are present in the body? What's the emotional body carrying? These can be quite physical as well. And is there one or many emotions? Maybe there's layers. And we might not be able to pick one up. Might not be able to tell. And can we be curious about this emotion without attachment? Just observing it. Seeing how it moves. Seeing what it's made of. And allowing it to be here. Giving it permission. Giving ourselves permission to feel it. And we can stay here with the emotions, or we can move to thoughts. You know, what's happening? What's happening in the mind around this? What words, images, stories? What are we saying about this difficulty? Again, we're here to observe what the mind does. We're not here to judge ourselves for it. We're just looking at it quite objectively. What does the mind say about this difficulty? And are there any beliefs about this? Beliefs that are underpinning the thoughts? This shouldn't be happening, or this should have happened. This isn't fair. It's noticing when our beliefs are in conflict with the way things are, then we experience that as suffering. can we just allow that process to be here as well? Giving it space, giving ourselves space. And lastly, we nurture. We're invited to bring some compassion to this whole experience of this difficulty. Reminding ourselves that it's normal to experience difficulties. It doesn't mean we're bad. We're not doing something wrong because we're having a difficulty. It's just normal. Is this difficulty permanent or is it temporary? Is it all of who we are or just part of our experience? And as we come toward the end of the practice, just bringing that sense of touch to maybe to the chest or to the opposite hand. Feeling that connection as we offer ourselves some warmth, offer ourselves some peace. Some kindness in whatever way means something to us. That we're okay. That we're doing the best we can with a difficult experience. And when we work in this way, when we work mindfully, nurturing our experience, we benefit others. When we're able to see the difficulties in ourselves, we're better able to see the difficulties in others too. And when we learn how to nurture our difficulties, then we're able to do that for others. So, closing the practice now, just with a moment of rest with the breath. Not doing anything. Just letting go of any residual tension that's built up in the face, the shoulders, the body. And allowing the sound of the bell to meet us again. And to bring us back to the group. Might wish to start moving a little bit, fingers and toes, moving in a nourishing way.